Just over a month after LeBron James said it would be amazing to play with Anthony Davis, Davis's agent informed the Pelicans today that the five-time All-Star would not sign an extension with New Orleans and has officially requested a trade. This coming from Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, who told management and ESPN Anthony wants to be traded to a team that allows him a chance to win consistently and compete for a championship. Anthony wanted to be honest and clear with his intentions, and that's the reason for informing him of this decision now, that it's in the best interest of both Anthony and the organization's future. That's right, kids. What's best for the organization's future. Got it. Yeah. Organization's future?
It's always about the organization.
Always about. There are 300 different angles on this story, and I know some Canadians don't know them all, but here is your Coles Notes versions. And kids, before the internet, there was these things called bookstore. Never mind. Coles was one of them. They had this little thing, and it made doing your homework a lot easier. It's a thing of the past. Let me give you some of the 100 different. You remember Coles Notes?
I remember Coles Notes.
Do you remember what they were called on another show that I won't name again?
Cliff Notes, I believe.
Cliff
right?
Notes was the other, was the American version.
The other Thursday show we won't mention.
The Coles Notes version. With Davis hitting the market, there had been an idea that the Lakers are the favorite, right? Safe to say they're the favorite?
Golden State's. Oh, for Anthony Davis. I'm sorry. Yes. I misheard. I misremembered what you said.
All right. Just listen up, okay?
I'm trying. I'm
going to go through 100 angles.
I'm trying to go over the schedule Thursday night.
I want Canada to stay with me on this.
So you're going through all the angles right now with this story.
Now that we know he wants to be traded, the favorites to land him would be the Lakers, right?
Correct.
Okay, so now we move on from that to say that his agent is also LeBron James' agent, who plays for the Lakers. By the way, LeBron basically owns the agency that Rich Paul works for. It's Clutch Sports. It's run out of where? Cleveland, Ohio. LeBron may have tampered by saying, as we mentioned earlier, it would be amazing and incredible if the Lakers got him. Follow me here. Could the Pelicans force him to sit out so that he stays healthy and they finish last and get a lottery pick? What happens if he goes to the East? Boston is the second favorite to land AD. They can't do it till July 1st unless, Sydney, they trade Kyrie Irving. And you've heard the LeBron chat with Kyrie Irving, haven't you? Could the Raptors go all in on this season and somehow pick up Anthony Davis? Or nothing happens this season at all? Am I missing anything at all here?
That's pretty much it.
What is the most intriguing angle in all of this? And maybe it's just what we heard about 15 minutes before we went to air.
I think it's what we heard about 15 minutes to air from the Pelicans themselves. Now, listen, before we run the quotes, let's remember, I sat here with Tim McAuliffe after the Kyrie Irving called LeBron James story broke from, I believe, Kyrie. Kyrie was the source of that.
Yes.
A couple weeks ago, right? Yeah. In jest, I say to you, well, Kyrie's going to the Lakers. In jest. Mm-hmm. Tim's like, you're an idiot. I said, you're probably right. But I can't help but remember this is the NBA.
I say you're an idiot a lot.
It's true, but that one you meant. Usually that's a Dagan reserved idiot call. You said that one to me, and I go, I know, makes no sense, right? Why would Kyrie be traded?
I want to check the tape on that one.
You may also throw an F-bomb in there as well.
Right.
But anyway, it was completely in jest. Completely in jest. And we go back and forth on the tampering issue with LeBron. We brought that up in the show as well. Mm-hmm. This is from the Pelicans today. Although we are disappointed in this decision from Anthony Davis, our organization's top priority is to bring an NBA championship to our city and fans. Relative to specific talks of a trade, we will do this on our timeline, one that makes sense for our team, and it will not be dictated by those outside of our organization. We have also, here's the juicy part, Tim. Mm-hmm. We have also requested the league to strictly enforce the tampering rules associated with this transaction. It was weird when LeBron talked about Anthony Davis before Christmas. Mm-hmm. Other GMs noticed. This gets weirder by the day. And I think, listen, tampering at certain levels happens in basically all professional sports. Mm-hmm. There are no saints. Let's get that clear. This is as overt as I've seen in a long time, to have LeBron James involved with Anthony Davis when LeBron James owns his agency. This reeks. And I think the Pelicans have a real listen. There's a lot of better things to talk about here that are way sexier, but they have a case here for tampering.
No, this might be among the more with the NBA, who sent out a memo to their teams to remind them of the rules of tampering after LeBron James said this about Anthony Davis, actually put their foot down on LeBron James. Because for a while now, there are suggestions that he's doing a little bit too much. And the NBA can't get in the way of his side businesses unless, of course, his side businesses are affecting their bottom line. And you know as well as I do, the talk of all sports radio south of the border will be focused on whether or not LeBron James tampered with Anthony Davis and screwed the New Orleans Pelicans, who, by the way, another angle to this story is they made this announcement. Rich Paul, his agent, who works for LeBron James' company, Clutch Sports, made this announcement in order to put Danny Ainge in his spot because the Boston Celtics can't trade for him unless they trade Kyrie Irving, which, as you mentioned, would be very tough to do, especially when you consider he's in the final year of a deal and has a player option for the next. Now, they could do it around July 1st. They could just wait, make a deal with New Orleans in and around July 1st, and then re-sign Kyrie Irving at the same time, and ho-hum, you've got yourself a deal with the Boston Celtics. But there are suggestions right now south of the border that you remember when Danny Ainge, after LeBron James called himself the GOAT on his own show, he said that LeBron was going Donald Trump to sell himself by calling himself the GOAT. And this announcement at this time puts the Boston Celtics, who appeared to be among the front runners to land AD, into at least the second spot.
I think so. I mean, again, and I think it's worth triple checking with people at home that they know what's going on here in terms of Boston. Boston cannot have two Derrick Rose guys on their roster. That is league bylaws. Derrick Rose guy is someone who, during their rookie deal, signed and was eligible, signed a massive extension. Massive extension. Problem is, you can't have two of those guys on the roster. And that's the problem that Boston have right now with Kyrie and with potential Anthony Davis.
Right, you can Google it and find
it's convoluted, right?
Exactly what's going on. Then you add ridiculous. Chris Haynes saying in the story that the Knicks may be the premier Eastern Conference threat to pull off the blockbuster, to which many said, with what exactly? The response is Porzingis, whatever their first-round pick ends up being, and that could be the first overall pick, and Kevin Knox, a 19-year-old who has raised some eyebrows.
Very good. Knox looks real, though. The Knicks are a tire fire.
I don't know how real.
As a teenager, though, when you look that good in the league, you got my attention. I mean, he's no Luka Doncic.
No, he would be a valuable asset.
He'd be in the trade.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. The Knicks, this would be the most Knicks thing I've ever seen in my life. They right now are the second worst team in basketball.
I don't know why Anthony Davis would go there unless he somehow talked to someone like Kevin Durant or Klay Thompson and said, are you going? Is there a chance you're going? Because if not, there's no chance.
It doesn't work out. Like, you have to bring in Davis on the short term. There's no guarantee past 2020 on Anthony Davis.
Right.
And hope Kevin Durant signs. But if Kevin Durant doesn't have some kind of guarantee, that makes no sense. What kills me is that right now the second overall pick, assuming the lottery plays out the way it currently stands for the Knicks. You have Zion Williams sitting there. You have R.J. Barrett sitting there. You have real prospects sitting there. This is kind of what you've been waiting for. Porzingis, injury-wise, it hasn't been the same. I'm not mad at the Knicks for Porzingis. But why you would really trade away that pick for a guy who wasn't, you have no guarantee if he's going to stay in Knicks.
Well, I mean, Chris Haynes writes in and basically says that if he could get Anthony Davis and then somehow lure Kevin Durant in, that you're instant contenders for the Eastern Conference crown.
You're up there. That's a big lure on Kevin Durant, though. I mean, right? Look, we're all assuming that you get one guy.
It's a huge jump. Like
the Knicks brand has taken. I know New York is still New York. That organization has been a laughingstock for years.
Well, let's follow the timeline here too, because you've got the Danny Ainge quote about LeBron James. You also have Jeannie Buss saying that if players don't want to play with LeBron James, then she doesn't want them on the Los Angeles Lakers team, because there started to become a little bit of a narrative that other stars, because of what happened to Kevin Love in Cleveland, because Kyrie wanted out before he made the statement that he realizes now what LeBron had to go through, that people didn't want to play with LeBron James, that Paul George chose not to go and play with LeBron James because you had end up having to do what Luke Walton is now doing. And there are reports that Luke Walton and LeBron's camp doesn't want him there as the coach. Like, he wants to seem like Geppetto, and right now he does look like Geppetto. Does he not?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, he's pulling the strings on all of this?
Especially if the league's not going to do anything about it.
But do you think the league would do something?
Against LeBron, it's tough to tell. They've backed down from LeBron on numerous occasions. Why would they let him get away with owning that agency?
Right.
Why would they let that happen?
And you remember that he asked for a longer All-Star break, and basically
he got it.
The longer All-Star break happened.
Like, who's the commissioner, Silver or LeBron? I don't know. But we're here now. I don't think this is going to matter. If he wants to be a Laker, Anthony Davis is going to be a Laker.
This is a difficult spot for the NBA to be in because you want to empower your athletes,
correct,
but you don't want them running your league. No matter how smart LeBron James might be, and for off-the-court moves, LeBron James might be the smartest athlete that we've seen controlling his own destiny. Am I wrong on that?
Absolutely. Well, that's why they run the league. Every summer, they run the league. The owners don't run the league.
The players?
The players run the league.
Right.
Every summer, we see it trending every day.
And LeBron James started it.
He started it, and everyone's wise to it, and it's easy to control it because the contracts in this league, as currently stated, allow players to do that. And it's such a league where one player can make a difference. You better believe they run the league. So I mean, they might fine the Lakers. They might fine Clutch. I don't know what the recourse is for the Pelicans.
Well, they could stop a trade from New Orleans to LA because we've seen that before, albeit under different circumstances when Chris Paul was going to be traded from New Orleans, then the Hornets to the Los Angeles Lakers. The league owned the team at the time, but they stepped in the way and ixnayed the trade.
You want to see a temper tantrum of all time? Keep Anthony Davis away from LeBron and let the NBA be the ones to do it. Not the Pelicans. Let the NBA be the ones to go in there and nix a trade and tell LeBron, no, we're not doing this. He's going to lose his mind, LeBron James. Can't wait.
For those wondering, Brad Turner, Los Angeles Times, suggesting if sources are correct, Lakers want Anthony Davis. They would need to start with Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Zubac, and a first-round pick.
That's a starting spot.
That is the starting spot, according to Brad Turner, Los Angeles Times. The Pelicans are playing the small market card here. They're playing the tampered card. We've heard in the past of other GMs calling Dell Demps to say, GM of the Pelicans, to say they feel like LeBron James tampered with Anthony Davis when he suggested that it would be great to play with him. Do we put a little bit of blame on the Pelicans as well? I mean, outside of Boogie Cousins and the attempt to get him there, the Pelicans haven't surrounded this. Like, they have wasted a lot of Anthony Davis's career.
Look, Paul George goes to Oklahoma City. Everyone thinks that's a one-year stop, including the Lakers, including LeBron, including a lot of people in that market. You convince a guy he wants to be a part of it. You make him feel welcome. For years, the Pelicans have been ass.
Yes.
With Boogie Cousins, with the biggest twin towers since Duncan and Robinson that we've seen. So I don't feel an ounce of sympathy or empathy for the New Orleans Pelicans. Make this guy believe in you. It's not the other way around. Not in the NBA in 2019. That's not how that works. You have to create a culture where a guy wants to be a part of it. He clearly wants no part of it. Now, he's giving you 10 days to trade him before the deadline. That's not exactly fair either. But I have no sympathy whatsoever for New Orleans and the plight that they're in and what they have or haven't done with Anthony Davis.
Carl Turnbull writes in and says, Anthony Davis wants a trade. That raises a brow.
Shut up. Shut up, Carl.
And Jeremiah writes in and says, LeBron in Clutch Sports is the biggest conflict of interest in sports history. Like, are we at
that's up there.
Are we at the point where regular people, listen, I understand that the NBA has benefited immensely from the fact that they are in the news all the time. But you know there is a segment of the population that while eating this up with a knife and fork, roll their eyes. If Anthony Davis went to LA, is this the biggest eye roll? Is this the jump of the shark on the players running the league and all this juice thing? Like, listen, we're leading the show with this. So as I'm saying this, I completely understand that this gives the NBA front of the sports news 24-hour, whatever you want to call it.
Tim, it's Super Bowl week, day one.
Right.
This is what everyone in North America is talking about.
Right now.
This.
And I listened to ESPN all day. It was all about this. But could this, if he went to LA, be the jumping of the shark on that? Like, where everyone finally says, like, this is kind of horse bleep.
Well, the next round of bargaining, if you want to get the players to commit to 8-year contracts guaranteed, then you got a different story. If you go to an NHL model in terms
That's
of
not
contract,
the fan. The fans don't understand that. They don't
gonna
get
have
that.
to.
They
But they're
don't
going to
care.
have to. They're going to have to. That's the reality of the NBA. It's but that's Cleveland. That's Miami fans. They know the reality of this very well. If the NBA wants to shut this down, there's one way to do it. Long-term deals.
But you remember,
long-term deals.
You remember the idea of super teams when LeBron went to Miami and how scared the rest of America got of super teams, and Toronto got.
Yes.
Like, basically, we're going back to that, and you add Golden State to the mix because Golden State somehow put themselves into that conversation after being a laughingstock in the NBA. But think of the teams that are in this mix right now. It's only the big market teams, and the small market teams are crying tampering. Like, that's a serious spot the NBA is putting themselves into.
Yeah, but again, I mean, unless...
And I don't know if they know that because they're so busy saying, look at us.
They're aware.
Look at us.
I think behind the scenes right now, it is a nightmare. I think New Orleans are crying bloody murder, and there's some smaller market organizations alongside with them. I think that's exactly what's happening, right? This is a major league problem. But, Tim, in terms of the super teams, you mentioned the super teams. Since we're here with the super team era, if you can't beat them, join them. What's Masai Ujiri thinking today?
I don't know what.
If you're Masai Ujiri, what are you thinking today?
I'm thinking I got to see what the price is for a guy as good as this, and could I convince Kawhi to stay if I got a guy like this?
But I don't think that's. That's part of it. Yes.
If you put all of the assets down on the table and said Dell Demps, GM.
When you say all assets, do you mean like the next 5 first-round picks as well?
New Orleans Pelicans. Whatever you want, all assets. You put all assets on the table. Okay. There aren't a lot of teams that are in this mix. Los Angeles is in this mix because they got some good young players.
And he wants to go there. Boston has
remarkable assets.
But not yet.
Really good young players. But that doesn't matter if New Orleans wants the best haul. Because they can just sit and wait.
But the value on that goes down with each passing week.
It does not go down with each passing week because if you end up sitting Anthony Davis, you could finish lower in the standings and end up not only with your pick, which is low, but end up with whoever you're dealing with's pick. And it might be even more. You could just sit him down. If he wants to make this move and put the pressure on you, what's to say New Orleans just doesn't say, all right, sit down.
Well, when I mean value,
we don't want you to get hurt.
Right. I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying is, if you get him for 2 playoff runs, he's worth more to teams than just 1.
Right. But I think
that's what I'm saying.
I think that if you make the deal for Anthony Davis, since we're already talking about tampering, you kind of sort of know whether or not he is going to stick around in your city. I think New Orleans would benefit from knowing if Anthony Davis would sign an extension wherever he ends up going, whether it be Boston, whether it be Toronto, whether it be Milwaukee, wherever he ended up. But if to get back to my point, if you're laying down assets, if you look at the Raptors and the young players that they have some assets.
Better believe it.
That you throw Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby on a table, that's as good as any young players in the league.
Here's why I think the Raptors need to be thought of way more seriously here. It's obvious from Masai's perspective, it's not about next year. It's about now. They have no idea if Kawhi's coming back. It's about now. I would trade anything or anyone on the roster except for Pascal to have a run at the NBA Finals with those 3 guys on my team because they would get there. Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Kyle Lowry. They are getting to the NBA Final.
And then if they leave, you're absolutely hooped.
If Kawhi leaves anyway, you're screwed.
It's over.
Now, what I'm saying is I believe Masai's already there. This is about only this year. This is
You're
not
screwed.
about next
Well,
year.
you're screwed.
You are, but why not have a real go if you're going to get screwed? That's my point. If you're going to get screwed for the next 2, 3, 4 years, for this year, have a right go at it and go to the NBA Finals with Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and Kyle Lowry.
Let me just say this. The whole point of making the deal for Kawhi Leonard was to put yourself in a good spot if, in fact, he left. This would take away the good spot.
Well, you would still you would still have Anthony Davis for a year if Kawhi left. That's the math of it.
Yeah.
So Kawhi leaves, you still got Anthony Davis and Kyle Lowry to build around. It's a decent nucleus.
Right, and then Anthony Davis gives you the trade ultimatum.
And then next year, whoever the Anthony Davis is, you get that guy
right,
who signed for 2 more years.
Right.
And around we go, Tim.